Good afternoon. Today we're going to be celebrating Lala's journey and some of her achievements. And first of all, I just wanted to welcome you. Today is going to be amazing. I'm so excited to share more about Lala with you. And to start, let me introduce myself. I'm Thai. I'm 21 years old. I'm from São Paulo, Brazil, and I'm the alumni coordinator for diversity, equity, inclusion, and access here at Lala. Something about me is that I'm totally passionate about the human journey and how we can make it easier here in Latin America. So I just wanted to let you guys know who I am and welcome you. And also, I'm going to share just a little bit about our agenda. First of all, we're going to talk a little bit more about our theory of change and impact to date. Then we're going to talk more about Lala in action and have an incredible conversation with Tula leaders. They are amazing. You're going to love it. And finally, looking ahead, we're going to share with you an invitation, and it's going to be awesome. So please feel free to put in the chat your name and organization so we can start connecting and networking. Again, put in the chat your name, organization. And also, if during the meeting you have any comments or questions, you can write it on the chat and we'll get back to you on writing, okay? And now to start our amazing meeting, I would love to pass it to Diego, our co-founder and CEO of Lala.
Ty, thank you so much. And friends, thank you and welcome. If you're here, it probably means that we or someone we know believes that you care about the world, you want to make a difference in Latin America. If that's true, you're in the right place. I hope that our mission resonates with you and that Lala will hopefully become a V. We're here because Latin America has a leadership problem, worst educational systems globally. Together, these forces shape and break our talent and leadership pipelines. Put simply, most of opportunities go to a privileged few, and we are losing the majority of our talent. From this broken pipeline, we get the following dynamic. Our leaders in the public, private, and social sectors come mostly from the tip of the socioeconomic pyramid, so we're tapping only a fraction of our potential. Unfortunately, our socioeconomic elites tend to lack a real understanding for what the majority of Latin Americans are living, and are also unlikely to fight the status quo that they still benefit from. Of course, there's exceptions, and I know that many of you are, but we cannot build a continental development strategy based on exceptions. So what's happening to the other 95% of Latin Americans? Unfortunately, they are facing so many obstacles that only a tiny fraction of them ever get to become great leaders in the public, private, or social sectors. Most of the time, we just lose that potential. At worst, we've seen how some get to power with an anti-system populist agenda, or they arrive unprepared and fail to bring about the prosperity they promised. With this shortage of great leaders, we end up with a situation where too many public sector leaders, unfortunately, are corrupt or incompetent. Too few private sector leaders are truly innovative and socially conscious, and most of our social sector leaders are underfunded and many are underprepared. Add all of these factors, and it should be no surprise that we continue to have these problems and inequalities, and the cycle just repeats itself. This cycle can be broken though. At Lala, we've designed a robust strategy that can work within and around these broken systems. We have found 2 points of maximum leverage to transform the system. First, we find the most promising and purpose-driven teenagers in the whole continent, regardless of where in the socioeconomic pyramid they were born. Then we systematically develop and connect them so that they can reach their full potential, overcome the obstacles on their journeys, and become the transformational leaders our continent needs. This way, we are developing a new pipeline of thousands of next generation leaders who will transform our businesses, governments, and our social sector, ultimately bringing about the shared and sustainable prosperity we know is possible. I know this can feel abstract, so to engage with these ideas from a different angle, I'd like you to hear an amazing story. I'd like you to meet one of our newest board members, Zé Diaz, who joined us in 2022 to help us strengthen our operations and our business to enable our scaling plans. Ze brings an incredible skill set and expertise after more than 2 decades of executive leadership at AB InBev, Restaurant Brands International, the Kraft Heinz Company, and more recently as partner and president of Hermes Online, a company owned by Ebanks. But Ze has an amazing personal story that most people have never heard, and he will share it with us today. Unfortunately, Ze anticipated that his Wi-Fi might be spotty today, so he generously recorded his story for us to share. Thank you, Ze.
Hello, everyone. My time here today will be dedicated to reflect on the reasons why some of us have joined Lala and why more people should. In my case, joining Lala was a pretty easy decision, and I saw that as a way to invest in the economy of goodness. I believe that right now I'm investing in the industry of miracles, because miracles are precisely the product of Lala. And to make my point clear, I'll share a true example, a story of my own. If you go check my LinkedIn profile, for some, my story could look like a business fairy tale, and it has been pretty good indeed. International career, multiple continents, big companies. I had a great time. I'm still having. However, over time, I became very aware that such apparent success was only made possible because of two very random events. So random and so impactful that I prefer to call them miracles. The first miracle was the gift of education. Childhood was simple. No problems with food or housing, but it was simple. We're happy, but life was simple. We could not afford private education, for instance. And the location we lived was quite a dangerous one. My mother passed when I was 6. She was 32 and had cancer. And despite the obvious tragedy that of the circumstances, that made the way to miracle number 1. Not too long after the death of my mother, my father started a new relationship. And her new partner was an English teacher of a decent private school and also of an English course. In less than 1 year, she managed to have scholarships for my sister and myself, both for the private school and for the English course. Both of us had scholarship as stepchildren of her. Chances of succeeding in my international career would be close to zero without formal education and proficiency in the English language. Having access to such education as a result of my mother's death and my father's second relationship is statistically nothing short than a miracle. Additionally to that, on that very same year of my mother's death, miracle number 2 also happened. My father was one of the 10 lucky winners of a small local lottery. Given we had to share the prize with the other 9 winners, I think we remained labeled as middle class, I guess. However, the money was good enough to buy a better house and to move into a better neighborhood. And from that point on, I was part of a different group of friends, possibilities, and experiences. Some of my friends now were going overseas as exchange students, and I didn't know what that was. Such a change in environment created a huge amount of perspective and also expanded my network in ways unimaginable before. The conversations, the stories, they were now much more aligned with what my career would later become. And all that possible because of the miracle of lottery, which gave me also the gift of perspective and network. Think about that, the gift of education and perspective, language and network, all came to me because the randomness of life threw 2 miracles on me. One was not enough. We cannot depend on that when the subject matter is education. But what if we could give miracles a hand in a scientific way, measurable way, scalable way? What if we're willing to put all business techniques to serve a cause of creating miracles? Most of us have used some of those techniques to make money, and they work. Such thing is possible. Such thing is Lala. That this balance of access to education and perspective is too big to be beaten by standard interventions. Miracles are precisely what we need. I'm convinced I can do something about it. All of us can. Lala has paved the way for people like me and hopefully like you. Lala is already producing miracles right now, and you'll see some of those miracles today. I'm so excited with the possibilities ahead, and I invite you give yourself a real chance to work in the industry of miracles. But for now, let's just listen carefully. Diego, back to you, my friend.
Thank you, Zé. Thank you also for the forethought to record the video to anticipate bad Wi-Fi. And yes, I agree completely with the story you shared. Our systems are mostly broken. And for many people, it really does take a miracle for them to be able to reach their full potential, like in your case. But collectively, we have to aspire to something greater, because waiting for miracles is a terrible strategy for our continent. And thank you for saying that at Lala we're producing miracles. Maybe some of our outcomes are miraculous, but I personally prefer to think in terms of strategy, tactics, and execution. I shared a bit with all of you about the macro strategy for Lala. Let me tell you a little bit about the tactics. We heard how Zé shared that he received these 2 just-in-time miracles and how his subsequent outcomes in life would not have happened otherwise. So to dramatically move the needle in a continent where we have broken school and broken university systems, we decided not to build another school or another university. You just cannot get enough scale doing it that way. You cannot change systems, and you have no leverage if you do it that way. Instead, what we do at Lala is we deliver just-in-time tactical interventions to help our students get to those desired end outcomes. And this is precisely where the urgency of our model comes in. Each one of these high potential teenagers really matters. Each one of them could become the Latin American Bill Gates, the Latin American Nelson Mandela, the next David Vélez. And each year that goes by really matters. If we find them when they're 15 years old, we can really change their trajectories. If we find them when they're 21, it might be too late. Latin America will not reach its full potential if we continue to rely on whatever talent happened to be born at the tip of the pyramid. We've invited you to this call because after more than 5 years of doing this work, we have developed a strategy and a machinery that can reliably find talent everywhere and then systematically develop and connect them to turn them into world-class leaders. Our Young Leaders Lala journey begins by participating in our 1-week leadership bootcamp. In the following video, I'll show you a little bit of what that bootcamp is about.
What pained me was the massive lost potential at scale in Latin America, when the people who cannot reach their potential are those people who are trying to solve the biggest problems, and they can't.
Eles já vêm para o mundo com um olhar compassivo e empático de aonde eles veem problema, eles não conseguem lidar com isso, gera sofrimento neles ver tanto problema ao redor e eles querem fazer alguma coisa.
Many of them are feeling the pressure from their parents, from their peers, from their teachers, from society to put those dreams on hold.
Eles não têm ninguém ao redor deles que acredita neles e que incentiva eles a fazer o que de fato eles têm desejo intrínseco dentro deles de fazer, assim.
Just focus on university, just focus on the exam, get a good job, and then, come back to these dreams later on. And that's why they feel lonely. Lala is it's a non-profit institution and it's a movement.
É um espaço que a gente abre para trazer jovens que são os mais promissores da América Latina, que estão em busca de gerar transformação nas suas comunidades, na sua região, e que muitas vezes eles se sentem totalmente sozinhos onde eles estão. Hoje a gente faz programas de uma semana, que a gente chama de bootcamps, que são programas de 6 dias focados em desenvolvimento de liderança e inovação social para jovens da América Latina inteira. No primeiro dia do programa, a gente trabalha muito a conexão do jovem, então é um dia dos jovens se conectarem entre eles e com eles mesmos. No segundo dia a gente vai para uma visita numa comunidade para entender um pouco projetos que estão acontecendo fora da sala de aula. E a partir do terceiro dia até o quinto dia, a gente tem uma mescla, que na parte da manhã a gente trabalha o intrapessoal, o desenvolvimento interno desse jovem, e na parte da tarde a gente trabalha desenvolvimento de projetos com ferramentas de design thinking para chegar até no sábado de manhã e ter as apresentações finais de tudo que aconteceu ao longo da semana.
La manera perfecta en la que puedo yo implementar todo lo que aprendí en Lala es realmente transmitir cuáles fueron mis aprendizajes principales dentro del bootcamp.
Você se conecta profundamente consigo e com outros para entender o que é a liderança. Então, aqui a gente fala não só sobre identidade, sobre contexto, sobre recorte e sobre mudança social. A gente fala também sobre o que nós somos, o que nós já fazemos e como nós vamos trabalhar isso para chegar onde a gente quer.
And so the idea that that's what we're trying to do here, to create a community of learners, a community of impact-oriented folk, a community dedicated to the idea of community is beautiful. And at the end of the week, they know in their head and their heart, their body, every part of them knows that they're not alone and they just met a group of people that are doing the same thing, often in a way that's going to bring about positive impact and positive change, internally and externally.
Chegar aqui e ver pessoas que realmente mexem com política, mexem com sustentabilidade, mexem com o meio ambiente é uma coisa incrível.
O programa, ele conecta as pessoas.
A network and a community that helps us understand what is the importance of having leaders in Latin America and how we can have an impact in our own countries.
A única maneira da gente lutar contra essas desigualdades, esses problemas, é unir forças e conhecer pessoas que têm o mesmo engajamento que o seu.
We cannot do it alone, and our students cannot do it alone. We're actively looking for local allies who can be connectors, mentors, employers, donors, investors, board members, advisors. If all of us join, we can actually win this fight.
I hope that you guys can feel the energy and the love of these Líderes. And speaking about my journey, my bootcamp was the most intensive experience I've ever had. I felt so connected with my 28 other colleagues, and at the time, I was so happy every day for a whole week. But believe me or not, the real action happened after my bootcamp ended and I joined the ecosystem and the community. At the time, we had around 600 Líderes. And just to put into context, right now we have 2,000. We're super close to 2,000. And in the community, we can grow together, we can network, we can nurture each other. And actually here at Lala, we like to think about our ecosystem as something live like a tree. So we expect our community to nurture the organization, to take care of the organization and to grow together with us so we can spread little fruits around Latin America. And I think that's really beautiful. And now I would love to pass it back to Diego, who's going to talk just a little bit more about it.
Thank you, Ty. And indeed, the bootcamp is just the beginning of the full model. So to give you a better sense of what the student journey looks like, let me walk you through it. So first, we run a continental search process in partnership with a growing partner network that includes schools, NGOs, foundations, and public sector entities. We then run a need blind admissions process, which means that we don't look at applicants' financial abilities when making admissions decisions. Unlike most other institutions, we don't obsess over standardized tests. Instead, we dig deep to evaluate the character, the values, purpose, curiosity, and determination of our students through a combination of essays, interviews, and essays, videos, and interviews. Admitted students go through our financial aid process. We offer need-based financial aid, and around 95% of our students receive aid. But here's an interesting piece. We almost never give full financial aid. Instead, we teach admitted students how to fundraise so that they can pay their own personal contribution. Admitted students then participate in the one-week leadership bootcamp, which you saw in the video. The last day of camp, they become Líderes and enter a lifelong fellowship and network where they get access to a range of opportunities, both in-house and through partner organizations. Líderes often describe this as a Disneyland of opportunities, that includes interventions like mentorship, university access, internships and careers, applied leadership opportunities at Lala, and follow-on deeper educational interventions like our Gap Year Residential Leadership Academy in Medellin. Finally, part of how we maximize our impact per dollar spent is by aiming to provide the right opportunity to the right leader at the right time. The exciting news is that all of this crazy thing is actually working. First, we are finding these amazing kids by the hundreds, which is why we're scaling. This past year, our bootcamp scaled 50% from 460 to 692 young leaders. And over the last 12 months, our community grew from 1,278 La Líderes to 1,970 young leaders from 18 countries. Excitingly, we are finding these hidden gems that the traditional system often misses. In Brazil, for example, Black student representation grew from 28% to 46% in just 1 year. Low-income admits grew from 33% to 67%, and female admits grew from an already high 70% to an astounding 75%. A quick side note here is that we're aware that we may be over-indexed on the female representation, but honestly, given the history of male-dominated leadership scenes in the region, I think we're fine for now. Altogether, 70% of La Líderes to date come from underrepresented backgrounds. And then our efforts to develop and connect them are also working and scaling. On the camp side, even as we've grown, we've maintained Lala's exceptionally high quality. One measure of this is our Net Promoter Score, which on average is 95 out of 100. Then, in order to prepare Lala for a post-pandemic world, thanks to the generous support of the FRC Family Foundation, this past year we purchased our first building, Meet Lala House. This is the first piece of what will become an urban campus to create rich, immersive residential programs in the city of Medellin, Colombia. If you're ever around, hit us up. Then our mentorship program continues to grow. Our database now includes 500 mentors, and we've made more than 300 tailored, handmade mentorship matches. If this is your first time hearing about Lala, please consider mentoring a La Líder. The time commitment is very light. Mentees describe it as life-changing, and mentors describe it as profoundly inspirational and as a great way to develop their own coaching and mentorship skills, and as an excellent way to give back to the world. Then we continue to place La Líderes in the best universities in Latin America and the world. Collectively, they're winning millions of dollars in need-based financial aid. Last year, for example, La Líderes won $13 million in college scholarships. The return on investment is huge. Here's a quick math. Each new La Líder costs us, on average, $2,000. That includes search, selection, the development programs, the connection, $2,000 on average. Each time one of them gets a full ride in the US, that's a $300,000 scholarship, if you add the 4 years. That is a 150x return. When we drew this graph, the $2,000 line could barely be seen. You'd expect this to be a rare event, but this is happening for dozens and dozens of La Líderes, and there's still room to grow. When universities take our students and realize they're amazing, they tend to want more. We're also creating pathways to exciting and enriching careers for La Líderes. This past season alone, our internship program trained 100 La Líderes, placed 30 of them at 10 partner organizations, and over the last 2 years, this program has put $85,000 in the pockets of our La Líderes. Those are the stipends that are going directly to them. You have no idea how impactful these stipends have been for many of them, especially as the pandemic and the recession have hurt many of their families' finances. So here's another invitation. If you run a business or a social enterprise, this is a great way to get involved because it is a triple win. You get access to highly selected talent. The students get training, networks, and the stipends. And together, you and us can make an investment in those who may become the job creators of the future. And hey, we are happily eating our dog food. This past year, hundreds of La Líderes returned to build Lala with us through both paid professional and volunteer leadership positions. 20 La Líderes were part of our core team. 244 participated in 5 paid and 17 volunteer roles. Collectively, these opportunities added up to 23,000 hours of applied learning for these líderes. And this is also a big reason why LALA's impact far exceeds its budget. Each of these 22 initiatives now tracks net promoter scores, hours of development, self-reported skill development, mental health, network building, among others. We will share more about these in our upcoming impact reports. Now, all of these interventions and opportunities combined are leading to enormous growth in our young leaders. And we will share more formally in our upcoming impact report, so please stay tuned for that. There you will see in more detail, for example, how our leaders report huge boosts in social emotional skills like self-awareness, self-care, self-efficacy, grit after just a one-week bootcamp. We're also going to read how the leaders are building rich and diverse networks of peers, mentors, and employers, even funders. A few days ago, I heard that Luisa Villanova, a Brazilian leader, recently raised a total of $25,000 in grant money for her second social enterprise from one of our partner organizations, Changes for Humanity. We'll share more about how many of them are also breaking historic cycles of poverty in a region with very limited social mobility. This is a combination of access to previously inaccessible universities and career opportunities. Finally, we will also be sharing how dozens of La Líderes are already launching social impact ventures in their communities, impacting thousands and thousands of people. So please stay tuned for that, because many more exciting updates are coming later this year. So friends, with this, I want to conclude the formal, boring part of today. If you're still with us, your patience will be rewarded, because now you get to hear from two La Líderes. It's my pleasure to introduce you to Gabriela Lima from Sao Paulo and Renzo Ulloa from Lima, Peru. This conversation will be moderated by Pachi Santana, our Senior Manager of High Impact Careers. Pachi, take it away.
Thank you, Diego. Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. I'm Pachi. I'm from Barueri, São Paulo, here in Brazil. And I lead the department where we are creating and promoting multiple pathways for students so they can thrive with multiple personal education and professional development opportunities. But today you heard a lot about the bootcamp, the student's journey, how it works, but let's hear from the student. What is it? What are we talking about? So to start this conversation, I want to welcome Gabriela Lima, and then I'll pass it to Renzo when we finish. But starting with Gabriela, we want to know you. Who are you, Gabriela? And what were you doing before Lala?
Perfect. Thank you for you all for this opportunity. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Patty, for the question and the space. So I am Gabriela Lima. I have 21 years old, and I was born and raised in São Paulo, Brazil. Before Lala, I was working as an intern in a big company that I still work right now. And I was in my second year of college that I'm doing international relations. Speaking a little more about my history, I came from a simple family united by music, and I came from, I think that is a way to connect to each other. So that's why I made sure to start my admission process in Lala, singing a video with me, singing Nina Simone, because she is such an amazing Black woman and an inspiration for me because the history that she carries. So for me, it's very important. It's important also to talk about my family because they have been directing me a lot for the path that I have to follow to chasing my dreams. So in conclusion, my life before Lala has been very dedicated to my studies and volunteers in the area of social impact because it has always been very connected to what I believe. So for me is that.
Oh my gosh, I love Nina Simone. We want to hear you singing soon, sometime. But let us know, like, how was your admissions process to Lala? How did you know about Lala and how was this process for you?
Okay. Pachi, I have to say because my process was beautiful. Guys, my process was beautiful because from it, I have to get more willing to learn about myself. So Tasia is on the call. She helped me a lot with my process and the storytelling was never a space to grant it for me. I never dreamed about, oh my God, what am I? Who is Gabriela Lima? So storytelling was a space so special for me. And I do it the first time, and I was thinking, oh my God, that is great. I'm an amazing person. So I remember that when I finished the process of Lala, I just scheduled my first psychotherapy meeting with my psychotherapist, and I was like, oh my God, this is beautiful. Lala gave me to this to understand myself a little bit more. So talking a bit about my bootcamp experience was wonderful, wonderful. I was part of my VBL 12, I guess. Yes, VBL 12. I was part of, and I remember that Antonio was my facilitator. He is amazing, such an amazing guy. I'm sorry, he just passing to me, oh my God, Gabriela, you are this. You are here to make the change. So move on it. So it was beautiful. And I remember that one of my boot camp, they told us one phrase that I learned it by heart. Is it, I came to the make the glass greener for those who come after me. In Portuguese, will be like, eu vim aqui para trazer a grama mais verde para aqueles que virão após a mim. So I am here for this. I am here because one kid from my neighborhood is have to do the same opportunity that I have to. So I am here for this.
Oh my gosh, I'm so emotional and I don't know, arrepiada, how do you say that? This is so inspiring. Thank you for sharing, being so open with us. But let us also know, what did you do after this amazing experience of the boot camp? Like, what programs did you engage? What did you learn after you started participating at Lala community?
Okay, so the bootcamp was a sea of opportunity and discovery. So I have to recognize myself internally to understand how could I best contribute to my community and Lala. So the first thing that I think I remember, is look for ways that I could help people like me to enter into the sea of opportunities. So that's when I discovered Daya, that Ty mentioned in the first place. That is a small group, large group right now, that we help each other as a Black, indigenous, and vulnerable people. So I'm part of this. I am actually a current a mentor, and I'm so glad to be part of this. Oh my God, it's such a beautiful group. This step opened several doors for me because enter into this world that I really love, which is the third second. After that, founded a diversity and inclusion collective in my college, and I did a simulation project at the UN and the public school, and I taught human rights for vulnerable people in my service, among other projects. So Lala really opened a door for me that changed my life. It's a life changer for real.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing this, and so glad to know that you are paving the way for more amazing girls just like you. And what are you doing right now? Like, what is next? What is your big move? What are your dreams for the future?
Okay, so I'm currently an analyst in a logistics company, and as I mentioned before, but I'm focusing in transitioning my career 100% to the third second and focus on helping people through education. Because of this, I consider education a powerful tool for changer, and so I think that with education you can do all of of these things, because education gave me this place to be. So if you hear any opportunity, please don't hesitate to call me, because I have to go to the third sector. I'm willing to it. So please count on me. But within Lala, I'm still in Dea, contributing as I can, but I'm looking for more ways to be more present into Lala, that I can not only contribute but also transform it this day into my daily life, because it's something that I do with all my heart. I just love it to be part of the. I just love it to help people, among other things, that you can change your life. Lala changed my life, so for me it's very important. So thank you for this opportunity, guys.
Thank you so much, Gabi. Share your contact here in the chat so everybody can get to know you and share amazing opportunities with you. And now I want to transition to talk to someone really special, Renzo. We've been working together for a year as a lead for the mentorship program, as Diego mentioned before. He's a rock star of mentorship, but let's know about himself. who are you, Renzo? Like, let's do your Lala intro so everybody can know you a little better. And what were you doing before Lala?
Thanks, Pachi, and thanks everyone who is here in this meeting. So my name is Renzo Yoa. I'm 19 years old, and right now I'm living in Lima, Peru. But I was born in a small city in the highlands of Peru, in the north, in the city named Otusco. I lived there with my mother and my grandparents for 13 years old. Yeah, well, until I was 13 years old. And then I got this educational opportunity to move to here, like the capital of Peru, Lima. To here in Lima, we have something that we call high performance schools. In Spanish, is Colegios de Alto Rendimiento. And I got a scholarship to be here 3 years, and then I stay here. And in those 3 years, I questioned a lot of things about my future, about what I want to do, like in the short future. And one of the main things that I wanted to focus on was leadership, because I didn't consider myself as a leader before Lala. I had my doubts. I was a little more shy, less confident, but then I took a leap of faith. Like I trust myself that I can be a leader, and like the Latin American Leadership Academy could be a great opportunity for me to work on that.
That's great, Renzo. Thank you for sharing about your journey. And like, we know that we have different journeys getting to Lala. How was your process of being at Lala, admitting in the process and the bootcamp experience?
So when I heard more about Lala, I applied. It was before it was application, a little bit more like about myself. And before I didn't have time to reflect about myself. And I think that's one of the biggest spikes of the Lala's application. That is a mini experience even before the bootcamp. That you get to know better yourself. You sit and reflect about what have you been doing all these years. Why do you consider a leader? Like, what are your thoughts? And how do you think that you can help your community? And my bootcamp experience was just a full activities based on that premise. Like I got to know a lot about myself through other people. I love the storytelling, and all the people that I got to know there in the virtual. I think it was in the pandemic. I was part of the third virtual bootcamp, and it was such an amazing opportunity for me because Lala since then was my safe space to get to know myself better, to work on things that maybe outside Lala I can trust, because something that some other leaders said also in the videos, like sometimes we think that our dreams can wait a little bit, but throughout the bootcamp, I make the promise, like I make a plan for myself to start working on myself, to start working on things that I believe and that I want to fight for.
Oh, that's great. And what did you do after the boot camp? Like, what programs that you engaged in? What is something special that you want to talk about after you joined the community?
So right after I ended my bootcamp, we had these big ecosystem opportunities, and luckily virtually. So I got a lot of options, and I decided to join two initiatives at first, which were like the big clubs, which are like small clubs with different affinities for law leaders at that time. And I also got to volunteer for a mentorship program, which was a really important program for me. I have been almost 2 years in that program, because then Lala offered this amazing, unbelievable opportunity for law leaders to work side by side with Lala staff, which they are all amazing. And I was lucky to get like into the first batch of alumni coordinators. I started as an alumni coordinator for accompaniment, and I work with alumni engagement to enhance the strategy for alumni engagement with these programs. And then I just focused on mentorship, and that is when I get to know you, Pachi. We were working together in mentorship for like 1 year and a half, and
1 year.
yeah, it was an amazing opportunity for me because I learned a lot of things, like from personal things that I always wanted to push, like learning a lot of language. I never thought I will have this courage to say, hey, I mean, most of my team are from Brazil, so I will learn Portuguese. And then I took intensive courses of Portuguese, and I now understand 3 languages, which is I didn't thought this before Lala. Like literally, as Gabby said, Lala changed your life for like the personal opportunities that I had, the professional opportunities that I had to get to know better on my data skills, on my team leadership skills. It's amazing how an organization can offer you these kind of opportunities and these kind of safe spaces for you to grow and to be a better leader.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for sharing all of these details, Renzo. We can see how much, and we already miss you in the mentorship program, just so you know, and we're getting close to end here. So any final words you want to leave for the community, for Lala, before we move to Ty?
So right now I'm focusing, like reorganizing my priorities, because I took 2 gap years to focus on Lala and also to other personal things. But now right now, like I'm like in the first semesters of college. I'm studying here in Lima. I'm trying to find also other organizations that I can help with, because Lala was like the first organization that helped me with the social impact ecosystem environment, and I really want to help other organizations as well. So if anyone has like this kind of opportunity where I can give a hand about social impact, I really want to focus on this in the future and dedicate myself to help these programs grow and scale their impact.
Thank you so much, Renzo. Thank you, Gabriela, again for your participation. I hope you all enjoyed this conversation. Back to you, Ty.
Wow, goosebumps, literal goosebumps. Thank you so much, Pachi, Gabi, and Hazel, to share your amazing experience with us. I am so proud to say that I worked with both of them. Gabi is part of my team, Medea, and I worked with Renzo on the admissions team. And just yesterday, one volunteer from the DIA committee also told me that Lala completely changed her life, and that now she feels braver and confident to share her experience with others and to put her voice out there, be the leader that we believed she could be. And that's amazing. That's my experience also. So I just wanted to bring my context and say that being a leader is a constant journey of development and achievements that we happily can share with each other, and now that we can share with you. So now I would love to pass it back to Diego to do some final remarks about what's happened next for Lala.
Thank you, Pachi, Gabi, Renzo, Ty. Renzo, I was reflecting on what you were saying, and I was thinking, when I was 19, I was definitely not saying, I'm going to learn Portuguese by myself because it's important. Or Gabi, I was just not thinking, oh, I'm going to go volunteer and work at this organ, and I'm going to turn this into a project in my community. I was playing video games. Big confession, I was playing video games. I was playing football. When I was in classes in school and university, every fiber of me was going against what my teachers were pushing down my throat. Have you noticed the shine in the eye of Gabi and Renzo, and how they're opting into opportunities to learn, to grow, to work with others, to make a difference? That is the secret sauce that we're talking about. That is where the compounding growth happens. These are habits of mind, habits of learning that these kids are developing when they're incredibly young. Where are they going to be 10 years from now, 20 years from now? It's very easy to underestimate how much growth these kids can have if they continue to embark on this journey that they are the authors of. Right? Like Lala's facilitating opportunities, facilitating resources, creating some programs in-house, making partnerships. But As you've heard, they are the ones that are opting in to all of these things. So, friends, let me tell you very quickly where Lala is now, what's next, and if you want to get involved, how to do it. 2022 was a year of laying foundations to really turn Lala into a rocket ship for impact in Latin America. Crucially, we hired 2 rockstar executives to strengthen our leadership team. I want you to meet Alia Whitney Johnson, Lala's first COO. Alia is a beast. She's an MIT engineer, holds a master's degree in development studies from Oxford. She's a Rhodes and a Truman Scholar. She worked at McKinsey, where we met 13 years ago. She successfully founded 2 social enterprises, Emerge Lanka, which she founded in Sri Lanka when she was 19, and which she successfully transitioned to local leadership. And she also founded Freedom Forward, for which she was awarded the Modern Day Abolitionist Award. And this org has become a demonstration project in California. Alia will lead the building of our impact and business machine so that we can really turn Lala into a world-class, scalable, and sustainable social enterprise. And I also wanted to meet Oriana Torres, Lala's first Director of Development and Strategic Partnerships. Oriana brings more than 20 years of experience at the intersection of education, entrepreneurship, and youth development in both the private and social sectors. She holds an MBA from Babson, was part of Endeavor's founding team in Colombia, and brings an extensive business development and operations experience in the K-12 and EdTech spaces worldwide. She's even a TEDx speaker, please Google her, and much more. Then we also focused on strengthening our governance by expanding our board to bring in the expertise, the diversity, the representation that we needed to drive our strategy forward. We are now a group of 10, with Ze, whom you heard of before, and Paolo Passoni being the most recent board members to join, and the wonderful Kevin Efrusi as board observer. So here's what's next. 2023 will be an exciting but tricky year. After 5 years of consistently delivering within budget, we're starting the year with 6 months runway, which is a privileged position. That being said, this is our first time navigating a recession, and we don't yet know how it will affect philanthropic giving in the region and for the region from the outside. In response to this climate, our 3 overarching priorities this year are: first, to strengthen our foundations for disciplined and impactful scale. Given the economic climate, 2023 is not a year to grow blindly. Second, we will grow and diversify our funder base to include more supporters from different countries and also from across the spectrum of foundations, corporates, individuals, and families. Third, we will strengthen our core programs, including our return to in-person bootcamps, which had been on pause since the pandemic, and our Leadership Academy in Medellin. And we will also be working to find monetization strategies that don't depend on philanthropy. To wrap, I will leave you with 3 invitations. The first one is I invite you to connect with us. Oriana and I will be reaching out to connect at a more personal level and explore the various ways that you can get involved in our work if you choose to. For example, you can mentor a leader. Second, if what we have shared today resonates with you, I invite you to grow the movement. If you can think of people or organizations who would resonate with our mission, please let Oriana and me know. We would love to meet them. And finally, I invite you to invest in our mission. Most people do not give in the first half of the year, and many will give even less because of the recession. But please remember that the most disadvantaged communities in Latin America have, again, been hit the hardest by both the pandemic and the recession. So if you're gonna run towards the fire, the time to run towards the fire is now. Here's something crazy. Everything we did last year that I just shared, we did having raised $1 million from only 43 donors. Imagine what we can do together if more of you join the fight. If helpful, on the left side of this diagram, you can see the current distribution of our current funder base. And on the right, you can see the spots we're hoping to fill up this year to enable our continued building of this machine and growing our impact. If you think one of these giving brackets might be the right fit for you, let's talk. I hope that we can make Lala the right vehicle to help you live your values and maximize your impact. With that, friends, we will end the formal part of the presentation. If you have to run, you're free to go. It'll be a gift of time. If you want to stay, I'll ask you for two things. The first is if you have any comments or questions, please drop them in the chat. Our team will be saving the chat and we will follow up with every single one of you. If you have a technical programmatic question, David, my co-founder and executive director, will be the one following up with you. If you have questions about the business side of things, it might be Alia. If you want to talk to some students, we can make those introductions. So for the next few minutes, please drop questions or comments in the chat. And again, we're going to track all of them. Also, if you have any comments or very quick questions for our students, those ones we'll try to make a couple of minutes for to take advantage of the fact that they're there. So questions or comments for the students, unmute, throw the quick question. Otherwise, if it's questions or comments for us, just drop them in the chat and we will follow up with you. Kat, was a question for a student? If yes, we'll make a quick space for that. Otherwise, we'll follow up with Paulina in writing.
No, it was around the number of boot camps. It wasn't directed at a student. So quick clarifying questions on the types of boot camps, how many. Pre-pandemic, we were only doing in-person boot camps. We had been doing boot camps in 6 countries, in Mexico, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, Brazil, Argentina. The pandemic hit and our team had to pivot very rapidly and we launched VCamps, or virtual boot camps. Since then we've done, David, help me with the number, but dozens and dozens.
Hi everybody,
Go for it.
David here, Executive Director at Lala. We're doing about 10 boot camps a semester, or about 20 boot camps a year. And we'll be diversifying, like Diego said, bringing back in-person boot camps. The question was about the kind of boot camps. And the boot camps we have are mostly introductory boot camps, entrance into the ecosystem. We also hope to create second order boot camps. These will be thematic boot camps where students can deepen their learning. The big concept here is modular programs that young people can stack to keep opting into learning and building what Diego described as compounding learning. And there's not enough of this. The alternative is traditional schooling, high schools and universities. This is why we're really excited about what we mean to the educational landscape.
Thank you, David. And now you've seen the master chef behind what we do, the crazy scientist, David Baptista, co-founder and executive director. Friends, with that, we will officially end the presentation. Thank you for coming. Like I said, we will follow up with everyone who dropped a comment. Thank you for the comments and questions. Thank you for being here. Enjoy the end of your week. Thank you.